Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of my Dungeon Boss walkthrough series. Today we're going to be looking at the legendary dungeon, Arcane Circle, found on Boss Island. Now this dungeon has been covered a couple of times by other people. I looked through some of the notes that I had, as well as checked out some other resources, and I didn't see this exact team that I'm going to be running. So I'm going to be showing a highly reliable team for beating this dungeon, even though it tends to be one of the more difficult ones to farm. So the only real requirement for dealing with this one, and you can actually get by with very few runes, because most of your team does not need to be runed up. What you do need, however, is a heavily runed Cobalt. Your Cobalt needs to be a killing machine in order to get through this dungeon. Now mine is not the most powerful Cobalt ever, but I do have some decent runes on him. So if you look at my dark runes, they're nothing special. I have 15% extra to tank, 15% extra to tank. I put these on Cobalt initially to run Babel Mountain, because there's a ton of tanks there and he goes through pretty quick. So just a battle rune. It's a legendary, nothing else great about it. Superior power rune, so high attack, and a greater precision rune, which is crit attack crit. So overall stats, 4,800 attack, which is pretty good. So I think you're going to want somewhere around 4,500 or higher if you can get it. Obviously, take your best runes that you have and put them on Cobalt. So the rest of the team you could probably run without runes. I haven't tested it yet, but I'm almost certain you could. So let's get into the actual dungeon itself. We'll show you the team and the exact order as well. You want to make sure that you're running this the exact order that I'm doing here, because there are some very specific mechanics that we need to deal with. And you don't want to waste that 20 stamina just by picking something incorrectly. So, first up is going to be Indigo. She's going to be our energy gainer. Next up is going to be Echo. So this is equivalent to a speed team that we've run in the past. Echo is going to be there for the crit chance, to basically add extra damage because of the crit. Next up, we're going to be using Furnace. Furnace actually has a couple of purposes here, because of his taunt as well as his AoE based attack, which is extremely helpful here. And then lastly, to round out the team, is going to be Cobalt. So for whatever potions you want to take along, it really depends on how you're runed out and what happens when you get to the very last rune, or room rather. But I recommend taking at least one energy potion. And if you've ever run the energy team, that'll make perfect sense in a little bit. So let's go ahead and get started. Essentially what we're doing is we're going to be running 3 dungeons or 3 rooms very specifically, and then we have basically endpoints of those 3 dungeons or 3 rooms, that are boss and mini boss. So the thing with Arcane Circle is so many people got hung up on the 2 mini bosses, and they're actually incredibly more difficult than the actual main boss. And so we'll show you how to get around those once we get through this. Now the reason that you bring an energy potion is for this very first volley here. We want to try and get as many crits as possible. So even if you didn't rune out your team, typically you would rune your Indigo for crit so you can max her at crit. Now the person that I attack here first is always going to be the most powerful red person, just so that if I get extra attacks in there, I have the extra ability to crit, and not kill the person. Okay, so we're going to energize the team. And now this is why we actually bring Furnace along for the primary reason, because he's going to be able to attack everybody. It doesn't necessarily have to kill them, and in fact it most of the time won't, but it clears that shield. You don't have to worry about an AoE skill to kill them, or break that shield like if you brought Masuda Kira. And at this point we can use your strongest AoE based attack with Cobalt. He's going to regenerate that energy anyways, so use your strongest contagion control. So the reason that you might need that energy potion is for this first turn here. If Indigo doesn't crit enough on that opening attack, your Chilling Barrage may not be up. So you're always counting on a crit on that first one in order to make sure this is up. And now that this is up, this actually gives us a lot more options here because we can just cycle through the Chilling Barrage and the Energize. We don't have to worry about the Energy Potion getting things out of sync. So same room, even though we don't need to break the shield, we're going to do the same thing. And then same basic attack as well. If your attack is high enough, none of those should ever be a problem unless you somehow miss. So this third room is a little bit different now, and it's important that if you did get a little bit out of sync with the energy spamming, that you use an energy potion so that you can use Chilling Barrage here. It's super critical because this is the first turn where you're not actually going to use Furnace's attack. So we're actually going to use Furnace's taunt here, and I know taunting in boss modes tends to be a death sentence, but it's not here. So we're going to taunt, and then we'll kill with Cobalt. So the taunt will be evident on the next room why we want to do that. So it's not so much the fact that we're taunting, it's what the taunt actually does. So Furnace's taunt, in addition to taunting, it adds fire damage to everybody's attack. So basically every attack that you do is actually a double tap. So when you hit somebody, when they take damage, they generate that shield there. So the problem with that is, how do we get by that stupid shield then? So the double tap is basically going to hit them, they're going to generate a shield, but the follow-up attack from the fire actually breaks the shield. So make sure you follow this point to the letter here, because the healer, Mr. or Miss Esther Torchbearer, is fast. We have to slow her. Super critical here. So she's slowed, and then because of the extra fire damage, notice she doesn't have a shield up anymore. Now, whether or not you choose to do this next method is really up to you. If you'd like to play it a little bit safer, if you're not heavily ruined, feel free to go the safe route if you like. I personally like to do the electrical storm. If you wanted to take the safe route and just hit the other guy and break his shield, definitely nothing wrong with that. But I like to do the shock because both of them are susceptible to shocking. So notice where I'm at here as far as my attack goes. The healer got the actual shield back, which is one of the side effects of using that, because it's possible that the cycling through of the attacks might get to the point where it's on an odd number and they actually get their shield back without that fire. Nothing you can do on this turn here other than use combustion. You have to use the skill here, and you use it on the wizard. If you don't use it on the wizard, you might have seen this before in attempting this dungeon, he's going to do an AoE on the team and probably one-shot all three of those other people besides Furnace. So we reset his energy, and now this would be normally where Cobalt kills the team then. So the nice thing about having slowing down the healer, she's going to do a particular skill on her first turn, so we don't have to worry about an AoE based attack from her. We just have to worry about the wizard's attack. So in this case here, Contagion Control isn't going to attack the healer much because of the shield she had. But now that we have that double tap on there, the shield is gone. So now we're going to pour everything we have on the healer since the wizard has energy reset. So we're going to use the rapid fire. It's going to hit both of them with the shock damage. Not like it does much, but really the reason that I do the shock here is so that I can come in with Echo and use Intensify Shock. Now, had I hit her on the first turn, that would have killed her, but in this case, nothing else we can do about it. So I'm just going to hit the wizard, break his shield. And because of all the double taps, we see the shock actually went back to the healer as well. Wizard should die on this one. So what makes this one so difficult the way that I did it, that I guess it actually killed her. So the shock must have broke the shield first. But if you didn't use the electrical storm, it's pretty easy to get hits on them. So use your best judgment there. and see what else works for you. With the taunt up on Furnace, you should be able to be pretty safe there. So now we're back to cycling through the same exact methodology. We do see that the energize has gone down. So if we don't get crits here, we got one. It's possible that energize wouldn't be up, but we spent a couple of turns on the last dungeon, so it actually is up. So now we're right back into the swing of things. Go ahead and just use your regular AoE based attack with Furnace, and your strongest attack with Cobalt. Next room, same exact thing. Now we have the critical from the energize, so it should replenish our energy nicely. But we don't have the chilling barrage up because of where we were the last time with the energy crisis that Indigo actually had. So there's nothing stopping us from just doing a rapid fire here. We don't need the energy. Energize is going to be okay for another turn yet. So we'll just break the shield with Furnace. You're usually okay to hit somebody with Echo. Don't ever hit the blue guys because of the chilling. You don't want to be chilled. The burn, you can soak the burn for a couple of turns and not die. But notice we don't have a healer in this dungeon, so if you take damage, it's not going to be good for you. And realistically, this dungeon can be run without taking damage, except for Furnace from those mini bosses. Alright, back to Chilling Barrage, get our 4 crits, get our 4 energy, and now we're back on pace for normal usage here. We're in the room before the boss room. Want to make sure we do our taunt again, same mechanic. We want to go into the boss room having that taunt up for the bonus damage. I chose to not use Contagion Control there because I didn't want to risk it not being up for the boss fight. Your middle attack should be just fine there as well. So same basic rules apply. The only difference here is these guys are much, much weaker and much less dangerous. So we don't need to slow them. One of them's already slow and the other guy is normal speed. So really I just go ahead and hit them both to break their shields. And then I actually use the Electrical Storm again. Same reason as before, I just like to use it. And so the one caster ended up, getting his shield, but he's actually the one that I'm going to, I'll end up, you can use Combustion on either one of them. Cobalt tends to one-shot the caster on the top, so I'm going to actually use Combustion on him. Otherwise, the bottom guy does do an AoE-based attack, so it's likely if you're not runed very well, the bottom guy might kill you, which is why I would normally combust him instead. So I'll show you the one route if we do it on this guy here, reset his energy. So one of two things will happen. Either Cobalt will kill both of them, or he'll probably kill just the top one. That's what I've seen historically in running this dungeon. If he doesn't kill both of them, expect one of your guys to take some damage. And so I got the crit because of Energize, and it actually killed both of them. But the bottom guy can attack you, and I've had all 3 of my guys get hit, and they still survived. So depending on your rune layout, you'll probably be okay on this one. So let's take a quick look at our reward rune here. Probably just trash for breaking down, but still better than nothing. And it is a 1-star and not very rare, but it's a dual skill. Be good to get those skill shards, but that's about it. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns about running this dungeon with this team, or it just doesn't seem to be working for you, let me know. We can compare your runes to my runes in terms of Indigo and Echo, but Furnace, like I said, doesn't really need to have any runes because he's only going to get hit probably 1 time. So let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, thanks for watching.